So let's go ahead and get started using shapes. What I'm going to do is you have two different options for every capture. There's a little plus icon and a little camera icon and sort of a blue oval pill-shaped icon at the bottom of the screen. If you tap on the plus, then you're able to import images, and we'll worry about Pattern Builder later. Or if you use the camera and tap on the camera, you're going to have that option. So when you press on the camera, depending on which item has been selected, on the right hand side is going to determine what you're able to capture. Right now we want to just choose shapes. And what a shape does, what the shape capture does, is it just takes a scan of whatever it is that's in that picture frame. Okay, so this is extremely useful for choosing textures, or for using a drawing that you've created as a graphic. And it's a wonderful feature because what you're able to do is, instead of taking a scan of something on a flatbed scanner, bringing that into the camera, or bringing that into your computer, and then bringing that image, opening up in Photoshop or Illustrator to have that finally show up there, is multi-steps. What Capture does is it allows you to capture that scan, and then instantly it's available in the library on whatever device you choose. So quickly and efficiently you're able to get those different items into your libraries. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to use this magazine, and I'm going to look through it, and I'm going to find something that I think is interesting that I could capture. So the future right here is kind of an interesting, I like that graphic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in front of my camera, and now depending on what angle you're at, you might want to actually change the perspective. So if you go up a little bit, it changes it. If you go down, you might skew it a little bit. But I'm going to just kind of hover right above it, and I'm going to tap the screen. I'm tapping the screen instead of tapping the capture icon, because what that allows me to do is to freeze that image. And I can see that part of the E has come off the page, so I'm going to close that by tapping on the X. And then we're going to go ahead and find it again and tap to freeze. Okay, now at this point I can do some adjustments. There's a slider on the right hand side that allows me to find that threshold between black and white of where I want to capture. So it's a little bit tricky because there's some shadow that I'm capturing. The more I slide that slider all the way up or down, it can determine. Actually, you know what? I actually really kind of like that, where it's just the outlines, and I might end up playing around with that just a little bit. The other thing that you can do is on the left-hand side, if you tap the second icon down, that's a square with a circle and a line going through it, you can reverse what's black and what's white. So in this case, it's capturing the black, and in this case, it's now capturing the whiter areas. Right? So you can do a reverse. I think for this one, I'm just going to keep it like that. When I have it pretty much how I'd like it, as in regards to black and white, I'll just click on the check button. And from there, I'm going to now refine this shape. And you'll notice that there's sort of some big black areas that I'll need to remove. And the easiest way to take care of large areas that need to come off is by cropping. So you look at the top and it says the edit menu is up, which means we're in that mode. There's refine, crop, and smooth. I'm going to start out by cropping. So I'll tap on the crop, and then I'll just drag the corner of each area in until I'm happy with where it's cropping. Sure, I kind of wish I had more of those arrows, but I think what I'm going to do for this is get rid of all those black lines, just to show you some things that you can do here. Okay, so that's pretty decent. I could rotate it if I want, if I'm not overly happy about it, and bring it down so it's close to the edges. Then I'm going to go back to refine, and with refine you can then use your finger or you can use your pencil. And you've got a couple of different options. You can erase. So if I tap on the erase, I can slide that eraser back and forth, and that's going to show me, how big that brush is going to be. Right. So I can then just move over those areas that I don't want anymore. Or if I tap, like I did, I just tapped and held that, and it took most of that area away. I did leave sort of an outline, so I'm going to want to go ahead and get rid of that. But I'm going to use that eraser and just scrub away all the areas that I don't want. Okay, and I can zoom in so that I make sure that I don't inadvertently hit a shape that I want to keep in there. I'll go up and around. Let's see, let's get rid of these lines. And again, get rid of this line. Okay. So I've done some erasing. That's great. I'll tap on Done to exit that menu. But now what I want to do is use this brush, and I can go back now and paint some of those areas that the camera didn't capture quite right. So there's like some lines and dots on the U, and then kind of a texture on the R. So I'm going to tap on that brush, and again I can make it bigger or smaller depending on what I want. And then I'm going to go in and just find those areas that I didn't capture, and either with my finger, oops, and that looks like I went too big. So you can see I just made a mistake in this area, and I want that to be as straight as possible. So I'm going to undo that and make the brush just a little bit smaller. Then I'll tap that until that works. Then I'll zoom out, and I can see a little white dot there that I need to get rid of. Maybe make that brush a little bit bigger because these are pretty safe. I don't need to be overly precise as I'm going in this black area. This way, I remember over on the R, this one is going to be a little bit trickier because there's quite a few white areas. And I said it was going to be trickier, but really it's turned out not to be tricky. That's all. So that's kind of nice. So, got that. And we'll do this part, and I'll just keep talking to myself as we do it. It takes a little bit of time, but really not much, right? I mean, how much time has elapsed? Not a tremendous amount. And then, of course, sometimes you accidentally bump the screen, so you can use that little curvy back arrow at the bottom to undo. And then if you accidentally over undo, if you tap and hold, then you can redo, right? But it's just an example. I do not want that big line there. Pull back and see if there's any other spots that I may have missed. Zoom in on this. It's going to be pretty good. I did notice there was a little spot in the white area, so I want to take that out. So I'll click Done, and then go back to my eraser and get rid of that. So now I simply have black and white everywhere that I want it. From this point, we're going to try to smooth. So we've cropped, we refined, we're going to move on to smooth. So I'm going to select smooth, and by default smoothing is off, but you can see that it still smoothed it out, right? So when we were refining, can see that it's sort of a JPEG, right? It's a raster image. It's spotted. But when you go to smooth, it kind of fills in some of those gaps. And even with smoothing turned off, the computer is thinking and processing and making things happen. So if I turn it on, it's going to maybe even make it more graphic. And you can decide whether or not you like the effect of off or on. I can see that it had a profound effect on the word the. So if I click off, I'm not sure which one I actually like better. For this one, just leave it like that. And in fact, you know what? I'm just going to get rid of that word the all the way. So I'll just take my eraser, make it big, get rid of it, take it away. Tap done, go to smooth. There we go, we got future, and then I'm going to turn it on so it's super smooth and clean. That looks great. And I'll click save. When I do, now I can save to the library. And I'm going to save to graphics. You can change that if you're in the different library, but I'm going to select library, and I am not going to leave the default name. I want to give it something else. How about future? And I'll tap save. Yep, allow access, and it's saved. All right. So it's going to show up in all assets, right? If I tap on shape, it's going to be right there. So my challenge for you now is to find 5 different graphics from magazines. Go on a little treasure hunt and find 5 different graphics that you can create using shapes in Adobe Capture.